Harmonic Trader Education, Harmonic Trading, Certified Webinar Series. Lesson: The bat pattern. Origin of the bat pattern. The bat pattern was developed as a result of my refinement of the original Gartley. As we discussed in the Gartley webinar, the Great Gartley controversy resulted in the discovery of the pattern's ratio alignments, essentially differentiating two similar structures, that is, the bat and the Gartley, as unique patterns unto themselves. The exact alignment for the bat structure and the prescribed rules were outlined initially in my Harmonic Trading of the Financial Markets Volume 1 that I released in 2004, although the discovery actually was officially released on my website on harmonictrader.com in 2000. This pattern is a relatively new discovery within the field of technical analysis, but the bat pattern has become widely recognized throughout the industry. The bat pattern proved that pattern differentiation is essential for trading success. Also, not all Gartleys are the same. Bat pattern basics. Now, the bat pattern requires a B point at less than a 0.618 retracement of the primary XA leg. Preferably, the B point should be located at a distinct 50% or 38.2% retracement. The BC projection must be at least a 1.618 measurement. The ABCD pattern within the structure is a minimum requirement, but typically becomes extended and requires an alternate calculation, either an 127 AB equals CD or a 1.618 AB equals CD. The 886 XA retracement, though, is the defining level at the pattern's completion point. Also, the C point, it must be either between a 382 or an 886. The Great Gartley controversy, a review. The Great Gartley controversy really is all about the importance of pattern differentiation within harmonic trading. There are others vague interpretations of M and W type structures that have existed since H.M. Gartley's initial release in 1935 of the structure. But many of these variations labeled pretty much any ABCD pattern as a valid trade opportunity. The controversy lies in the fact that not all patterns are the same. When it comes to trading, real trading, we have to be as precise as possible. So two similar structures that may appear the same are not. The Gartley versus the bat. They may be similar, but they require different rules to optimize executions and outcomes. For example, the different ABCD pattern importance for these similar structures differentiates the opportunities. Now, my initial book, The Harmonic Trader, released in 1998, and my second book, Harmonic Trading of the Financial Markets Volume 1, that I released in 2004, presented the rules for every point to differentiate the structures for the Gartley. Origin of the 886 retracement review. I covered this in the webinar on harmonic ratios, but it's important to review the nature of the 886 retracement. This is a new discovery within technical analysis. Also, the bat as well is a very new discovery. The bat pattern, the 886 retracement, actually did not even exist until relatively recently when I released them in my first two books. I discovered what I thought was initially a deep 786 retracement in 1999 in collaboration with my colleague Jim Kane of CaneTrading.com. and I recommend thoroughly that you check out Jim's work. He does excellent work. The 886 retracement was released with the bat pattern in 2000 on my website, Harmonic Trader, initially. I discussed the importance of the 88.6% retracement initially in eSignalCentral.com in an article entitled The Origin of the 886 Retracement, and entirely all of the rules regarding the number in my book, Harmonic Trading the Financial Markets, Volume 1. Bullish bat pattern. This illustration shows the definitive ratio alignment required that validates a bat structure. Notice that the B point is slightly higher. If you're familiar with the Gartley, in terms of harmonic trading, the Gartley should be at a 618. And this M-type structure, though, for the bat is slightly different. Because the B point is slightly higher than the Gartley structure, it also employs different extension measurements at the completion point of D. For the BC measurement, it can be a 1618, but as much as a 2.618 extension is allowed. The primary number, though, is the substantial 886 retracement of the XA leg at the D point. The bullish bat potential reversal zone is unique. Because it requires different measurements than the Gartley, typically we employ specific minimums that differentiate this structure versus the Gartley. For example, the ABCD is a minimum, but again, as I said before, can be extended. The BC extension is different from the Gartley in that it must be that 1618X BC extension, but can be as much as a 2.618. Typically, in the bullish bat, the 886 XA retracement will be the lowest number in the potential reversal zone. Now, for the bat pattern, we define our stop loss limit just below the 1.0 extension, that is, the initial low at X. We place that stop loss below X in terms of any price action that trades beyond this level is considered an invalid structure. In our first example of the British pound over the Swiss franc on a 60-minute chart, we see a distinct bullish bat. This is primarily denoted by the B point, which is at a 50% level of the XA leg. Also notice how the BC extension is a minimum 1618 measurement. It also employs a longer alternate ABCD pattern, that is a 1618 AB equals CD. Looking at the price action in the potential reversal zone, we clearly see that the price action tested the entire zone, including the 886 XA retracement, stabilized and reversed quickly thereafter. It's this kind of specification that differentiates the bat from the Gartley and optimizes trade executions, requiring less risk, less money, for a greater profit and return. On the following chart of the Standard & Poor's 500 March 2011 mini contract, we see a nice bullish bat on the 15-minute chart. Again, the first place to look for the bat is at the B point. Assess whether or not that is at a 50% level or less. In this case, it's nearly exact. The BC extension employed a 2.0 measurement, as well as using an extended 1618 alternate AB equals CD pattern. The price action in the potential reversal zone, although requiring a secondary test, reversed exactly in the range of the completion point for the pattern. Again, the 886 XA retracement is always going to be the most critical number where we will look to execute trades for the completion of the pattern. But the entire zone must be assessed and must be tested before we execute any trade. This 15-minute chart of a bullish bat in the US dollar versus the Swiss franc shows yet again another distinct bullish bat. First place we look at the B point. What's that tell you? That tells you we're at a 50% of the XA leg. That's your first signal that this M-type structure is going to have a deeper retracement of its initial point X, require an 886 XA retracement at the completion point, as well as a minimum 1618 BC extension. In this case, the ABCD component was a 1.27 AB equals CD. These three numbers nailed the bottom and nailed the reversal point for the structure. Looking at this chart of the price action in the potential reversal zone, we clearly see how the price action stabilized immediately after the pattern was completed. This is an excellent example of an ideal reversal, especially at the 886 XA retracement. When you see that kind of stabilization after the entire zone has been tested, that's when you know you're close to pulling the trigger on the bat pattern. Now, this is a nice bullish bat potential reversal zone with ideal price action. Kind of price action you want to wait for and you want to look for at the 886 XA retracement to know that you have a profitable trade in hand. Bullish bat pattern potential reversal zone tips. As I said, it's important to wait for the entire PRZ test, and especially that 886 XA measurement. The minimum AB equals CD must be tested, although as these examples showed, it typically will be extended, but the minimum ABCD must be hit before executing the trade. The initial test of the pattern completion should not extend below the PRZ, potential reversal zone, as it should stabilize at the harmonic support shortly thereafter. Most valid bat patterns will exhibit decisive reversal behavior immediately after testing the 886 retracement. We want to utilize the area just beyond the 1.0 XA measurement as the make or break stop loss limit measure. Again, this depends upon the price action at the 886 level, but anything beyond the 1.0 will invalidate the structure. Price action must reverse immediately after testing this PRZ. Also remember, the 886 retracement must have that minimum ABCD completion. Can't stress that enough. Bearish bat pattern. This is a W-type structure, different from the Gartley, again denoted by the retracement at the B point. Preferably, we're going to see a 50% of the XA leg at the B point. The BC will be either a 1618 at a minimum, but can be as much as a 2.618. And at the D point, or the pattern completion point, the 886 XA retracement is the most critical number in this structure. Bearish bat pattern potential reversal zone. Again, we want to see the three components of the bat pattern line up. Typically, the 886 XA retracement is going to be the top number in the zone, although sometimes the BC extension might have a better fit slightly above it. In the best setups, that 886 XA is going to be the top range resistance for the pattern. Again, we use the ABCD as a minimum, but it can be extended. Any price action that extends beyond the 1.0 XA leg will invalidate the price structure. On this chart of the US dollar versus Canadian dollar, we have a nice bearish bat pattern on the 15-minute chart. First place that we look for this W-type structure is at the B point. Clearly, this B point's at a 50% level. In addition to the minimum 1618 BC extension, these numbers converged with the 886 XA leg and the alternate 1.618 AB equals CD to define a rather precise zone where the reversal occurred. Looking at the price action in the potential reversal zone, we clearly see that the price action rallied strongly up to the potential reversal zone. But look how it stalled immediately after testing all of the numbers at the pattern's completion point, in particular the 886 XA leg. Now for the bat pattern, we want to be looking to execute the trade right close to that 886 or any numbers that complement it. For this W-type structure, we either execute at the 886 or just above it. But when we see the stalling price action after the pattern is completed within 1 or 2 price bars and it begins to roll over, then we know that the structure is likely going to yield a valid reversal. On this chart of the US dollar versus the Swiss franc, on another 15-minute basis, we have yet another W structure with a 50% at the B point. Again, the 1618 BC extension complemented the 886 XA leg. This time, the ABCD component was an alternate 1.27 AB equals CD. This is more of an even more ideal potential reversal zone because the 886 was the top line of the resistance. Looking at this chart of the price action in the potential reversal zone, it's critical to see how the price action stalled immediately after testing all the numbers in the zone. The 886 XA retracement marked the top range resistance. Within 2 price bars after testing all of these numbers, the price action reversed and the trend went lower. These are the signs to look for, especially at the 886, for the early indications of a valid trade at hand. Following chart of the euro dollar versus the US dollar shows yet another nice bearish bat pattern. Again, the B point sat at a 50% level. These numbers combined to set up the W-type structure that possessed a 1618 BC extension as well as an 886 retracement. That was complemented by the 1618 alternate calculation of the ABCD. Now all of these numbers converged in the 129.70 to 129.80 area. That's a very tight range for this structure. But again, as I have said, notice the price action after testing all of the numbers immediately after the pattern has completed. The stalling and rollover nature of this price action will give you the early indication of a valid reversal at hand. Ideally, we want to be executing trades at the 886. So in this case, with the 886 at 129.82, we want to be looking to execute right there. Anything above the 1.0 level, that would be anything above 129.90 or even 130, would mark an invalid bat pattern. But in this case, the structure yielded a nice reversal. This chart of the British pound versus the Australian dollar shows another W-type structure. In this case, the bat pattern had a 382 at the B point. This set up more of an extreme BC extension. Although the 886 is a mandatory number that must be tested, these 3 measurements came together to define a rather wide potential reversal zone, but that's okay because we're really focused on the 886 XA retracement. Although the other numbers, the ABCD component and the BC extension, should complement this area, the fact that the 886 marked the top end of the resistance was key in this trade. Looking at this chart of the price action in the potential reversal zone, we clearly see that the price action stalled immediately after hitting the 886. Now, the pattern pinpointed this area around 163, 163.11 as the optimal execution point for the trade. But as we will see when we get into the trade execution webinar, the best way to handle these trades is first wait for the pattern to complete, look at the next price bar after the entire zone has been tested to look for those early indications of the validity of the structure. In this case, immediately after testing the most critical number in the zone, the 886, the price action stalled and reversed quickly thereafter. Bearish bat pattern potential reversal zone tips. Again, we want to wait for the entire PRZ test, and that 886 XA is a mandatory level that must be tested. Also, we want to look for that ABCD completion area. Although the ABCD is a minimum, we want to see the ABCD component with the 886 XA leg. Now, the initial test of the pattern completion should not extend above the PRZ, as it should stall at the harmonic resistance shortly thereafter, especially after hitting the 886. Most valid bat patterns will exhibit decisive reversal behavior immediately after testing that 886 retracement. Utilize the area just beyond the 1.0 XA as the make-or-break stop-loss limit measure, depending on the price action at the 886 level, but anything above that 1.0 will invalidate the structure. Again, the 886 retracement must have a minimum equivalent AB equals CD completion, but frequently that ABCD will be extended. The perfect bat pattern. The perfect bat pattern was originally outlined in my book, The Harmonic Trading of the Financial Markets, Volume 1, released in 2004. It's an alignment that I devised which possess strict ratios that define the clearest patterns with strong 886 levels. The perfect structure is primarily defined by an exact 50% B-point retracement. The ABCD component employs a 1.27 XA alternate calculation with a 2.0 BC projection. Now, these two other measurements are the only measurements in the perfect structure that can combine with the 886 retracement. The C point, ideally, although not as necessary, should complete within a range between the 50 to 618% retracement range. Also, the structure should possess distinct symmetry with an equivalent time duration. This illustration of the perfect bullish bat pattern, again, really outlines the ratio alignment. We look for an exact 50% at the B point, a BC extension of a 2.0 that combines with the 886 XA retracement and a 1.27 AB equals CD. On this 60-minute chart of Apple Computer, we see a nice perfect bullish bat pattern. Now, this M structure, this M-type pattern, possessed a distinct 50% retracement at the B point. Also, the 2.0 BC extension complemented by the 1.27 AB equals CD defined this tight area just above the 300 level for a nice intraday bullish continuation. As we see on this chart of the price action in the potential reversal zone, Apple tested the entire range of numbers, including the 886 XA retracement. All of these numbers converged just in the 300 to 301 area to define a definitive support level. The price action tested the entire range of numbers and then reversed sharply. On this chart, in the 5-minute, eBay exhibited yet another perfect bullish bat pattern. The B point, first place we look, exhibited the 5.0 of the 50% XA retracement. This combined with a 2.0 BC extension and a 1.27 AB equals CD. Now these three measurements came together to define the area just at $24 for the ideal and optimal point for the execution of the trade. Looking at this chart of the price action in the potential reversal zone, we clearly see how the price action stabilized after testing all of the numbers at the pattern's completion point. Again, this is exactly the type of behavior we want to see in valid structures. After testing all of the numbers in the zone, in particular the 886XA retracement, we see that the price action stabilized. That's your early indication that we have a strong reversal at hand. Looking at the character of this pattern and this structure, we can put these numbers together and have with good confidence that when a price action will stabilize immediately at these numbers, we're looking at a profitable reversal. Perfect bearish bat pattern. This is a W-type structure that is defined by an exact 50% at the B point of the XA leg. Now, we look for a 2.0 extension of the BC leg to combine with the 886 XA level. These numbers combine with the alternate 127 AB equals CD to mark a distinct structure. On this 5-minute chart of JDS Uniphase, we see a really nice distinct W pattern that turned out to possess the correct ratio alignment to define the perfect bat pattern. Now, with this, at the B point, it set up the structure with a 2.0 BC extension, a 127 AB equals CD component with the 886 XA leg. These numbers converge just under the 1350 level to define harmonic resistance. This chart of the price action in the potential reversal zone clearly shows how the price action stalled immediately after testing all the numbers in the zone. That is your key, and I'm going to repeat that over and over again because that is one of the strongest points and validation factors immediately following a pattern completion. Price action that can stall and reverse immediately after testing the numbers will give you that early indication and early validation of a profitable trade. Here we have a perfect bearish bat on Dell Computer. Again, the 50% XA leg combined with the 127 AB equals CD and the 886 XA leg to mark critical short-term resistance. Looking at this chart of the price action in the potential reversal zone, notice how the price action stalled immediately after testing all of these numbers. Now, on an intraday chart, these three numbers came together in an extremely tight area, if not exactly at 1473. Within 2 bars after testing this zone, the price action reversed and gave you clear indication that an intraday reversal was at hand. Bat pattern summary. The clearest bat structures possess precise B-point alignments with a 50% retracement of the XA leg as the critical element to define the best trading opportunities. Now the 3A2 can be used as well, but for the bat pattern, the 50% is preferred. The AB equals CD is an important minimum requirement, but the bat frequently employs that alternate 127 AB alternate calculation, or sometimes even the 1.618 AB equals CD alternate calculation. The BC measurement must be at least a 1.618 projection, but it can extend to as far as the 2.618. The 886 XA measurement is the most important level at the pattern completion point, as long as the minimum equivalent AB equals CD has been tested. The C-point retracement can vary between a 382 and an 886. The potential reversal zone should possess ideal reversal price action immediately following the completion of the pattern. Again, especially after testing the 886 retracement. This confirms the most valid opportunities. In my opinion, the bat pattern is one of the most accurate of all the harmonic trading patterns. And really, the 886 is actually one of the strongest harmonic ratios we have within our trading arsenal. On a final note, it's very important to differentiate bat patterns versus Gartley patterns. When it comes to real trading, we need to be as precise as possible to optimize our executions, minimize risk, and maximize profit.